Good afternoon, folks. You are very welcome to Bandido Swings. The Bandido was swinging out on court again today. You know, what a spell of weather we've had here in Ireland. It's another 20 degrees Celsius day today. The Bandido just had his tennis practice out on court. He's on his way home and his bag is falling all over the place here. Such is life. We need a little bit of entropy in life, folks, don't we? We can't have too much order. Well, I can tell you something. There was quite a bit of disorder on the court today. I'm saying quite a bit. You know, this felt like the most inconsistent the serve has felt. I have to say, remember folks, the point of this series is a journey to a better serve when the Bandido goes out to play some tennis. You know, we're going to talk about it here after I show you the footage. I don't even know how much footage I have today. The camera was just rolling at different times. I'm going to have a look at it and chop it all up. Holy fuck, I said last time, these tennis videos, they take me about 2 days to edit them. And that's normally not the way we rock here on Bandido Talks. The Bandido likes to keep his editing simple. But gosh, I don't know how much footage I have to edit here. But anyway, a little more inconsistent today. It was a good hit though, I have to say. And I don't want to ramble too much here. But you know, my playing partner today, he was just playing really well. And I actually felt that, serve aside, you know, putting the serve to one side, I felt like he was really pulling me all over the court at times, playing some lovely little sharp angles. So he played really well. And I think that actually had an impact, even on the serve as well, because I could feel that he was stepping in and he hit a couple of winners off some of my serves. And, you know, it puts you under pressure. The Bandido was feeling pressure today. He was sweating like fuck as well. But anyway, we're going to talk all about the hit, what I learned from last week, how I felt the hit went today. We'll reveal a few more details about the Bandido's gear that he uses as well. But all that later, folks. I'm going to leave you with the footage. Whatever it is that I have, I'm going to guess that I have about, I would say I have at least 2 service games and at least 2 return games, but I think I have more than that. So I'll see what it is when I put it all together. You're going to see the footage now. I'll leave it with you. We'll come back after and have a chat about all of it. folks, there's the footage. So as you can probably see, for those of you that have a sharp eye, you know, the serve was a bit all over the place today. You know what happened? Well, you see, when you start something new, folks, here's a lesson, an early lesson for you all. When you start something new, in this case, I want to improve my serve. I want to bring in this new service motion. It could be you trying to learn an instrument, learn a language, learn a new sport yourself, start a new business, start a YouTube channel. You know, it doesn't matter what it is you're doing, folks. There's always a honeymoon period, isn't there? You know, you've got all the enthusiasm, I'm going to start something new, and you feel all optimistic. And look, I'm not someone who's very easily susceptible to depression or mental health problems. But you know, here's the thing. You start something new, you're riding the crest of this enthusiasm that comes with the prospect, with the anticipation of learning said thing and getting better at it. But then reality, like a soggy wet towel, slaps you in the face. And you know, I felt like today, the soggy wet towel slapped the Bandido in the face when it came to his serve. Now look, I thought the rest of my game was still in pretty good nick. Some good winners. You know, I thought again that I moved well. A few more unforced errors from the baseline, but to be quite honest, folks, that was just because my hitting partner, my playing partner, was just playing better. You know, he was just playing better than me at certain times today, and I felt a little more rushed at the back of the court. Not even rushed, maybe that's the wrong word. I felt a little more off balance. As I said in the little introduction, I felt like he actually played the angles very well, and he played with the pace of the ball very well. You know, you don't always have to hit the ball hard, folks. And if you watch today's footage, you will see that my playing partner, he doesn't necessarily have to hit the ball hard to make me feel off balance. He can play with the angles, play with the spins, and I thought he did that very well today. And I thought he was able to draw unforced errors out of me. So that was really good on his part. In terms of the serve, let's talk about the serve here briefly. Look, you know from last week's show, if you watched episode 2 last week, you know what I am trying to work on. So let me just briefly recap. The 3 things that I'm trying to work on are straightening out my ball toss arm. Instead of releasing the ball at an angle, I want to release it more in a vertical position, we could say. Number 2, I wanted to have the ball toss a little bit higher so that I'm not rushing my backswing. And then number 3, committing through the swing. Moving all of my potential energy through the swing. Creating more momentum through the swing. So those were the 3 things that I was looking to improve upon. And you know, folks, here's the thing. Before today's practice, again, I was on the old YouTube, folks. You know, you have to be careful these days. When you say the old tube, you know, things can get taken out of context. I was on YouTube, and I was looking at some of these people who seem to know a thing or two about how to hit an old serve. And perhaps I fell into a trap. Perhaps the Bandido fell into a trap because I felt as though I was trying to implement too many things at once. This is the lesson, folks. This is one of the lessons that we can learn. You know, when you're trying to improve something, like I'm trying to improve my serve, there is a temptation to try and do things quickly. You know, in this day and age, we are all very impatient, aren't we, folks? We want things instantaneously. We don't want to engage with a process. We just want to get from point A to point B. Destination fever we have. How many people actually want to strap in and, really immerse themselves in a process. Take things slowly. Don't try to rush. Don't try to speed up the process unnecessarily. And perhaps I fell into the trap, folks, of trying to implement too many things at once. Now, what's the problem with this? Well, you see, when you try to implement too many things at once, you're not really sure where to focus your attention. And I think that is what happened to me out on court today with the serve. General game was fine. Movement was fine, forehand, backhand, all that sort of stuff. My playing partner played very well, so he drew errors out of me. But look, that's what happens when someone's playing well on the other side of the court. But with the serve specifically, I felt as though I had too many things swirling through. I'm signaling for this dude to go out in front, and he's sleeping at the wheel. Goodness me, Mr. Nissan in front. I'm literally waving him forward, and he's having a little snooze. But oh well, such is life. But anyway, what was I saying? Yes, with the serve specifically, the trap I think I fell into was, after the last 2 hits, and here's another lesson. Fuck me, folks, the lessons are flowing in. After the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've made progress with my serve, considering where it was. And isn't there a temptation, folks, when you start to see some progress with something that you're working on, that you get too excited? There's one thing riding the crest of the wave of enthusiasm, but then there's another to get carried away, because when you get a little bit carried away, a little bit too excited, you're on your surfboard riding the crest of the wave, and then your excitability means that you make a mistake, and then you come crashing into the wave. And I felt like today I was getting a little too excited. I was thinking, I have all of these different things that I want to work on with the serve. I want to do this. Not only do I have my 3 things last week that I was trying to work on, but I got a little lost in the weeds this week. There I was, like a lost sock in laundry. Lost in the weeds. I couldn't see the wood from the trees, so to speak. We talked about this in a recent Spanish show, when I was talking about how I almost lost my umbrella in the river. Folks, if you ever needed motivation to learn Spanish, that would be the incentive. To watch, what was it, episode 5 of Spanish Musings? La gran historia de mi paraguas. If you can speak Spanish, well, actually, you don't even need to speak Spanish, because you can put that, there's a function now on YouTube, isn't there, where you can auto-dub. You can put the video that's spoken in a different language, and the AI can give you an AI-generated translation. So anyway, you can probably still watch the video. But anyway, in that episode, I was talking about this idea of not being able to see the wood from the trees, not being able to see the tree from the rest of the forest. I was down in the weeds today, and I was staring too closely at the trunk of the tree, and I couldn't really see the broader picture. I'm trying to work on those 3 things that I talked about a few minutes ago. Then I was thinking, actually, I want to adjust my backswing a little bit. I want to put a bit more spin on the serve. And then I thought, actually, whenever I draw my feet together as I'm launching up towards the ball, maybe I'll do something different there. And I'm starting to introduce too many things. Maybe I'll start hitting more flat serves. Try more topspin. Maybe, I'll put the ball toss a little bit more off to the left. I'm thinking about all these different things. And what happened? I got lost in the weeds. Too much information. And then what ended up happening was I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really know. I wasn't focused on a specific element of the serve. So lesson learned for the Bandido. And this is very easy to do for all of us, folks. We're excited about learning something new. We've been doing it for a couple of weeks. We're starting to see a little bit of progress, but we're starting to exit the honeymoon period. And this is the most critical period, we could argue. As you're starting to exit the honeymoon period, This is when the wet towel, the wet soggy towel of reality slaps you in the face. And you know, when the wet soggy towel of reality slaps you in the face, this is when you need to dig in, folks. You know, whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish in life, if it's worth pursuing, if it's actually something worth your time, energy, and attention, genuinely, it's not going to be easy. You know, we're so used to a comfortable existence. We're so used to having everything just handed on a platter. Things worthwhile in this life, folks, are going to take effort. There are going to be ups and downs throughout the process. So you better strap in and get ready to embrace the process. But that doesn't mean that it can't be frustrating along the way. And I think this hit today, folks. If I were to look at it strictly from the perspective of the serve, it was a little frustrating. I felt like I was a bit all over the place, and I'm sure you could probably see that from the footage. I just looked a bit stiff, a bit uncomfortable at times. But here's the thing. From my perspective, it is worth pursuing. I really want to get this serve right because I feel like the rest of my game is in really good fucking shape. I feel like my backhand, my forehand, my movement, my anticipation, my general baseline hand-eye coordination is actually in a really good spot with regards to tennis. And all I need to do, it feels like the final piece of the puzzle, the final thing that I need to unlock is the serve. Now that's a big thing. It's a big ask, but I think it's worth it because I think if I can unlock the serve, I really do think the rest of the game is actually going to benefit. I think my level's going to go up a notch or two if I can just get the serve to click into place. So I think it's worth it. I think it's worth me pursuing this. So if it's worth me pursuing this, I need to accept the soggy wet towel of reality is going to slap me around the face every now and again. And that sort of happened today. You know, I actually watched a little bit of the footage when I came off court. I sat, you know, it was such a nice day today. I sat at the back of the car. The place where I play, there's a big, it's within this big sort of forest park, you could say. Ormo Park in Belfast. I'm going to call it a nice big forest park. And you know, I sat outside, I took the camera out and I started to watch a bit of the footage. So this week, I've actually seen a bit of the footage as I'm here in the car now. And I can confirm, upon watching the footage, that I am a bit all over the place with the serve. But that's good. This isn't a negative thing. This is good because, you know, I'm learning. And anybody who has went through a process of learning, we talk about this on the show, folks. Ascending a learning curve is difficult. It's difficult to ascend a learning curve. And there's always going to be this period of discomfort. And it's during this period of discomfort that most people give up. They kick the table over and they say, fuck this. This is too difficult. Too much effort. I'm not yielding the results that I want to yield. I'm not improving at the speed I want to improve at. And people just give up. And they say, I'm not getting to the destination quick enough. People have destination fever. And you know, I can't blame people in the age in which we live. With social media and technology and all of this stuff, we have become used to the idea that we can just get things quickly. But again, folks, things that are worthwhile pursuing in this life are going to be difficult. And this serve, it's going to be difficult for me to get this right. You know, I looked at this week's footage and there was an initial sense of, man, that was messy. But then, about 5 seconds later, I felt inspired to get out next week. I felt inspired. I felt extra motivated. Folks, it's a matter of perspective. If you are unwilling to engage with the journey, if you're unwilling to embrace the process that's going to lead you up the learning curve, if you're unwilling to do this, then you are going to look at a practice like I had today with disappointment. You're going to be deflated. You're going to think, what's the point? Why continue? This is going to take forever. Folks, that is not going to get you anywhere in life, because important things require long processes. Important, valuable things that you want in life require you to grind and invest a shit ton of time and energy into the process that's going to allow you to ascend the learning curve. And once you accept this, once you realize, yes, I'm strapping in for a journey. And you see, here's the thing, folks. This is actually a good example of why YouTube and social media can actually be used in a very effective way. Here I am, documenting this journey. I started this journey a few weeks ago. I finally decided I need to address my serve. The rest of my game feels like it's in good shape, but my serve is letting me down. So I thought, hold on a second. I have this thing called Bandido Talks, and perhaps I can weave some tennis into Bandido Talks. Here we now have this new segment, Bandido Swings. So I'm actually using social media to incentivize me, in this case YouTube and Rumble, to incentivize me to actually get out onto court and document the journey. Because 6 months from now, let's say, I am probably going to have, 20 or 30 of these episodes, and I will be able to actually see, bit by bit, how I've improved. And that's going to allow me, this is like a catalogue for me, cataloguing all these videos. And folks, I cannot emphasize how important it is to record yourself, either visually or if you're looking to improve something else, like learning a language, improving your singing. I don't care what it is. It's so important to record and analyze your performance. So important. I would be so lost if I was not recording all of these practices that I was having. I wouldn't know where to start. There are things, like for example, today, I was looking at my tossing arm. I thought, in my head today, I thought, oh yeah, my arm's super vertical today. That's what I thought. Because in my head, I was under this illusion that my tossing arm was far more vertical. And then you see, whenever I watched back the footage 30 minutes ago, it looked exactly the same as last week. But I thought in my head that I had improved my ball toss in terms of straightening out the arm. But when I actually looked at the footage, it looked exactly the same. Folks, if I was not recording myself and analyzing my own practice, how could I improve? How would it be even feasible for me to improve? It wouldn't be. And I've had to do the same thing with my music and my singing. It's painful, folks. This is what I mean. The wet, soggy towel of reality slapping you in the face. Folks, it is extremely uncomfortable ascending a learning curve. It's very uncomfortable having to look at your shitty serve at the moment. You know, my service motion is definitely lagging behind quite considerably the rest of my tennis game. And it looks a bit ugly at the moment, certainly from my perspective. And I do want to address that. And, you know, it doesn't exactly fill me full of pleasure looking at my service motion. It looks a bit messy. And it was the same with my singing. Whenever I set out a number of years ago to get better at singing, what did I have to do? I had to record myself singing songs. How do you think I sounded in those first few recordings? That's correct, shit. And initially, there's an initial, for a few seconds, there's an initial sense, a demoralizing feeling. You're sort of listening to yourself and thinking, holy fuck, I am shit. But then you realize, hold on, nobody is born brilliant at anything. Everybody has to go up a learning curve. Everyone. So I'm not alone in this journey. Billions of people before me have ascended learning curves. Billions of people after me will ascend learning curves. I'm just one of many. And we have plenty of evidence, folks, of people, either in our local area or international superstars, as we call them, who have ascended dominance hierarchies, climbed learning curves, and got really good at things. And you know, you have to be willing, folks, to analyze your own performance. Very important. When it comes to tennis, I need to bring out this video recorder. I need to sit down, and even though it doesn't look good to serve, even though I'm making mistakes, even though I'm not where I want to be, I need to sit down and stir this thing in the face. And I need to put the effort in. And it doesn't matter what process you are trying to get better at. You need to do the same. You need to find a way to analyze your performance. I don't know what it is that you're looking to improve or get better at in your own life. But if you are serious about getting better at something, folks, you need to find a way to analyze your own performance. Otherwise, you're stirring into a bucket of water. Basically. You know what it's like stirring into a bucket of water, folks? You don't get much feedback when you stir into a bucket of water. You need to find a way to analyze your performance. Whether that's a video camera to visually see what you're doing, whether it's recording yourself when it comes to singing, I don't know. You need to find a way to analyze your own performance. Yes, I know you can get other people to analyze the performance for you, but what I'm saying is, you yourself, don't be fucking lazy. Most people couldn't be arsed doing this. You yourself, you need to analyze it as well. Don't just send it off to someone else. Oh, I'm going to pay someone to analyze my performance so that I can just fudge. You know, I can just turn off my brain. I can go on to autopilot. No, you need to watch it too. You need to see and hear what it is you're doing. If you want to get better at speaking, record yourself. Watch it back. You know, folks, how many times do you see me going, whenever you listen to me speaking, do you hear me using a whole bunch of filler garbage? No, you don't. Why? Because I have watched back. I've talked about this before on the show. I have analysed my speaking performance on Bandido Talks. And I've made sure that I don't have a whole bunch of filler garbage when I'm speaking. All my videos are completely unedited. I never cut things out of my videos. They're always just one big fluid dialogue, or monologue, I should say. It's just me speaking. How am I able to do this? I need to analyze my performance. Same with tennis, it's same with anything. Anyway, folks, that's all the rambling on the show today. I was going to talk about my equipment, actually, about my tennis racket, the type of racket I actually use. We'll save that for the next show, because I've been talking too much. Bandido Swings! But you know, it is still Bandido Talks, folks. So the Bandido has to do a bit of talking. Says you, a bit of talking? You've talked for about 30 minutes. But folks, I gave you loads of tennis action, didn't I? I've earned the right on my own show to talk a bit. Have I not? Let me know down in the comments, folks, what you thought of the practice. Let me know what you thought of the serve. Let me know what you thought about the rest of my game. Leave your thoughts and insights below. I had some good feedback on the previous video, one of the previous episodes. Let me know down in the comments. Give me your feedback. I will take it on board. I will try to implement some of it, see if it works. Your feedback might not work for me, so I can't make any promises, but I'll definitely experiment with what it is that any of you folk are saying. Leave those comments down in the comments section. Folks, that's everything from me. I am making a beeline for home. I've got some melon to eat. The Bandido loves to eat some honeydew melon. He loves to eat some watermelon. Nothing that makes him happier. And I'm going to sit outside, get some sunshine. You enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And with all of that said, it is over and out this afternoon from the Bandido.